and welcome to Dakman Productions, and also welcome to Conahee Rail. I've been getting requests to do more comparison videos, comparing Atlas O to Lionel to MTH. I've been, the fans out there, you fans out there have been requesting this and enjoyed those comparison videos. But before I get started, I'm going to have to say this little disclaimer. These comparison videos that I'll be doing, of course, will be in my own opinion, my own experience, and sometimes you have a tendency to like something better than the other, but I'll try to be as fair as possible to these reviews. So, with that being said, today we'll be reviewing the smaller tank cars. Now, keep in mind that these tank cars, or this review, is going to be based on true scale. Everything on Conahee Rail I want to be scale, because Conahee Rail is actually a high rail layout, meaning I want everything as scale as possible, as prototypical as possible, with the best details as possible. So that's, when I look at rolling stock, those are the three things that I look at for Conahee Rail, because it is a high rail layout. Now, before you guys just assume I'm a Riddick County train snob, I do also own a Lionel MPC traditional O-gauge layout, and basically anything goes there. So I do keep the scale stuff separate from the other stuff, like the Lionel MPC. What I call the fun stuff, because you know, you have fun with it. You don't care about prototypical and all that stuff. You buy stuff based on colors. But when it comes to Conahee Rail, I want the trains to be realistic and what you would really see out there. So with that being said, these three tank cars that you're now viewing, the Procore, the Corn Products, and that GATX with the white stripe, are actual real tank cars that you would actually see on the railroad today. Okay, so the Procore tank car is made by Lionel. The Corn Products tank car is made by Atlas O. And the GATX is an MTH Premier. All three of these are scale. The Procore tank car made by Lionel, they call theirs the Unibody tank car, I believe. Let me look at the box here. Yes, so that is a Lionel Unibody tank car. The Atlas O, that's the Master Series. And they generally call theirs the 17,000 gallon series. So that's going to be a 17,600 gallon tank car. So that's how they refer to their tank cars. And then the MTH Premier, that's over here, is what they call a funnel flow. Now, there were earlier versions of the MTH Premier tank cars. They just called them a tank car. They didn't actually call them a funnel flow. They were like early tank cars, and then MTH came out with the funnel flow later on. So all three of these were like made within, well, these two tank cars are pretty current, within the last 2 years. That Procore tank car is about 5 years old. But in fair comparison, the Procore tank car is the same tank car design for that size tank car Lionel has had for years. So we'll be reviewing the cars here. So here is the Lionel Procore tank car, as I was explaining. They call theirs the Unibody design. And then we're going to swing around here. And that is standard O, that's a scale car. Over here we have a Atlas O Master Series. 17,600 gallon tank car. I call them the 17,000 gallon series because they seem to do a variation of how many gallons the tank car is based on the same tank car design. And then finally we have this MTH Premier funnel flow, and as I was explaining, the earlier version of the MTH tank cars were just called tank cars. I don't have an early version to show you guys the difference, but if you look, the funnel flow design here, I'll see if I can pan in there. The funnel flow design has a little dip in the middle, so this car would be basically gravity fed. The funnel flow design tank car would be, because all the liquid would be going to the center of the car since there's a dip in the middle of the car. It's something that railroads really used, and as you noticed, the manufacturers have been coming out, and I'm using a crude stick here, so sorry about that. The manufacturers have been coming out with reflective tape for those who want more modern trains. So if you're trying to model a railroad that's 2015 or more modern than that, you would want to look for rolling stock that has the reflective tape on it. Of course, you can buy the reflective tape and mark the ones that you already have, but the manufacturers have really been stepping up the realism, and we'll take a closer look as we move along. So we'll go ahead and we'll start the review on this GATX tank car first. So here we have the MTH Premier funnel flow tank car. This one's a current release, and as you can see, the details on this thing are pretty nice. Hopefully I don't get too close and it doesn't blur. But it has the proper flammable placards on it. It has the proper graph on there. It also has, it has a lot of nice decals. And these are all decals and lettering that you would actually see on the real thing. And then there's a label on there telling you what's in there: phosphoric acid. And then here's the top of it here. This is like I said, to be fair, this is a funnel flow car. The funnel flow has been out for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer. So this is the newer version than the regular MTH Premier tank car. This is also Premier. So they use a real wire, real metal handrails. The detail here is pretty nice as far as the see-through grading. Nice laser etched see-through grading there. I find the ladder to be pretty nice as well. And then you have the metal cable that goes through. And also on the end is your metal hand railing. And then you can see the end details of the car. The handbrake wheel. Then I'll flip it this way. Hopefully you guys can see. There you go. You can see the laser etched grading. The newer MTH trucks had the nice air hose feature. I think this has been within the last 4 or 5 years as well. So that makes it a little bit more realistic. The only complaint I have with this car is that it does not feature rotating wheel bearing trucks. So remember what I told you guys before in previous videos, that you pay more for certain details. So the more details a piece of rolling stock has, the more it will cost. So I'm a little bit disappointed in this. I would rather have seen the rotating wheel bearing caps, but this one doesn't feature it. And this car is only like 2 years old. They just came out with this thing 2 or 3 years ago. So it should have featured rotating wheel bearing caps. But there's your undercarriage details, which is pretty nice. I do like that. By the way, MTH does sell they do sell roller bearing wheel cap trucks. So if you want to upgrade them, you can. I know a lot of guys that have been taking their rolling stock such as this and swapping out the trucks. But MTH does sell the nicer trucks that feature the rotating wheel cap on the trucks. The other thing I don't like about this is that although the handrails are metal, which is nice, but they should have been painted. That they would never leave bare metal exposed like this on a real piece of rolling stock. These would have all been painted. And yeah, you can go behind it and paint all this on your own. But it's once again, that's something that should have been done right out of the box. But all in all, it's a pretty reasonable car to buy. I believe they're right around 60, 65 bucks, something like that. And so it's not too bad for a scale car. A couple things, like I said, paint the handrails, swap out the trucks, and you'll have a more realistic freight car. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Alright, what we have here is an Atlas O Master Series 17,600 gallon tank car. Out of all three of those tank cars, in my opinion, this is the best one out of the three for the most realistic, detailed tank car for this review. And I'm going to show you why. So up close, once again, they leave you'll notice there is no placard here, because this is a non-hazard tank car. This tank car hauls corn syrup. So in this case, this car would be correct without a hazmat sign on it. So I wanted to point that out before somebody said, hey, that car doesn't have a hazmat sign in there. How can it be the better car? Because Atlas O realized, since this hauls corn syrup, there would be no hazard placard on this tank car. It would not be necessary. And then there's your chart. Sorry if I'm moving around a lot. I'm trying to steady myself here. And look at the details in this thing. Lots more information like a real tank car would have. Now, one thing that Atlas did get correct as well is all modern tank cars must have the reporting mark and the road number on top of the car, just like that. And why is that? Because if this tank car was to get into an accident, a helicopter could fly over the derailment, and as long as it's sitting up and down, or on it, even on its side, they could read the number easily and look on the manifest and see if there's anything on there that would be hazardous. And once again, you have the reflective taping on there, because this is a modern piece. Any railroad 2015 and newer, if you're modeling a modern day railroad, would have to have these reflective pieces of tape on them. Now, I don't know if you can tell by the video, but the metal, the grab rails, and all this metal here is all painted like it should be, and the end details, the wire grab rails, are also painted as it should be. And then I'll bring it in and let you see that. And just like the MTH, this has a realistic hose on the couplers. The Atlas Master Series, if you can see that, yeah. Those feature rotating wheel bearing trucks. See that? See how the caps rotate? So yeah, this is more realistic as far as details. Let's take a look at underneath. And you can see the great detailing Atlas really puts into these things. So, like I said, this car here, sorry about that, put my hand in the way, does have more detail on it than all three of them put together. On the other hand, that drives the price of this car up. Compared to MTH Lionel, you'll be paying right around $80 for this Atlas Master Series. But once again, you'll get all the detail, all the realism of a real piece of freight, a rolling stock that a real train would have. All right, let's move on to the Lionel. All right, so here is the Lionel Unibody tank car. This is a design they've had for quite some time. In my own opinion, I think their design needs quite a bit of updating to be, to look better as far as details and stuff like that. And also to make it more realistic to what you would see today. But let's take a closer look. They do have the same nice printed graphics. You'll see this one does have a hazmat sign on there. And that's because it does have chlorine on board, so it does mark that. It doesn't have as much information on there as the other manufacturers put on the tank car. just panning around here. And looking at it, though, it does feature, however, rotating wheel bearing caps, as it should. It does not have airlines on it, like the MTH and Atlas. And like I said, to be fair, this is an older design, but nothing's really changed. So this has the older type of truck on there, which has the hidden tab for releasing the couplers. Since then, they've come out with the thumbtack coupler, which quite a few people don't like. I've had problems with the thumbtack coupler myself, which comes uncoupled on quite a few of my cars, but I found a cure for that. Here is the underneath detail, and as you can see, it's very lacking. And once again, we're comparing the Unibody tank car, which is the smaller version. Lionel did come out with a 30,000 gallon tank car, which is more or less comparison to bigger tank cars, and it's a lot better than what this is. We'll be doing a review of that later. But they did come out with a nicer, more quality, detailed tank car. And like I said, we'll review that in another video. But right now we're just comparing similar size tank cars. The other thing I don't like is the oversized handrails or railing. These are all oversized. The ladder is quite clunky and oversized as well. I mean, it's not really refined at all. And these, I find that the railing at the top is a little too thick, the tubing, and I believe that the grate at top could be a little bit more better refined than that. And as you can see, same thing here. The grading needs to be a little bit more refined. The price point on these are cheaper than the Atlas O, but comparing this to MTH Premier, which is about the same price point, I would buy the MTH Premier over the Lionel Unibody. As far just on details alone, even though the MTH does not have the rotating wheel bearing trucks, but it has more detail than a Lionel Unibody. You can always swap out the trucks and have a nice car compared to the in comparison to the Atlas O. So, doing a video wrap up. My number one choice out of all three of these, by far, is the Atlas O Master Series. Even though it's a higher price point car, it has the most detail, the best graphics, and the most realism out of all three of these brands. My second choice would be the MTH Funnel Flow. Although the Funnel Flow does not feature the MTH roller bearing caps or rotating bearing caps, you can always swap them out, paint the handrails as they should be, and you would have something pretty much in comparison to the Atlas O. My least choice would be the Lionel Unibody tank car, due to the lack of detail. Even though it does feature rotating wheel bearing caps, that's not enough to push me to buy these. They really need to update their design on this to make them more comparable to the other two. And you're probably asking me, okay, so if you don't like it so much, why did you buy that? Easy question. I bought this because it's Procore, and unfortunately Atlas O or MTH Premier has not made that version of Procore yet. If they ever do, I will be selling that because I'm not really happy with it, but I only have it because it is a realistic road name just like the other two. So once again, this video, the video disclaimer, the video is made with my own opinions. I showed you pretty much what I liked, what piques my interest, and how I go about choosing rolling stock for Kanehei rail. Remember the three things that I look for Kanehei rail: trains that are realistic and well detailed and to true scale dimensions. So those are the three things that I'm looking for. And so I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that as well. Those are the three things that I based this review on. I know some of you guys are looking at price point. The Atlas O, since that has the most details, is going to be your most expensive piece here. That's about $85 car. The MTH is about $65, somewhere in there, 60 to 65. Lionel's not far behind for that price, right around $60. But once again, it's just too, for me to spend the money on the Lionel, it's just too lacking of detail. But I bought this one because no other manufacturer has made that particular Procore tank car. So I hope you enjoyed my comparison video. The video is not to bash any particular manufacturer. I have Lionel, I have MTH Premier, and I have Atlas O on my layout. And so I tried to do a comparison, what, again, as fair as possible, but also my own opinion. Alright everybody, we'll be doing a couple more review videos in the future, so look out for them, and thanks for watching.